Now that we've got the basic map setup complete, let's create a layout so that we can get this map presentation ready. To create a layout, the first thing you need to do is go to the Insert ribbon and click on the second tool, New Layout. This will open a menu which allows you to select the page size for the layout in case you want to print it onto physical paper later. For this map, I'll just choose the default letter size so that it can be printed onto regular printer paper. I also find that for maps of the state of Missouri, a portrait orientation is usually better because Missouri is taller than it is wide. First, let's rename this layout so that we can tell what's going on. Now, to get our map visible on the layout, what we need to do is insert a map frame. To do that, go to the Map Frame tool, also on the Insert ribbon. Choose the map that you want and drag it across your page. And now the map appears. Let's see if we can get this sized a little bit more appropriately. To do that, we need to right-click on the map frame in the Contents pane and go to Properties to open up the Element pane on the other side of the screen. Then we can choose this Placement option and adjust the size. I think that I want about a ½ inch margin on each side of this map. Since we have an 8.5 by 11 page, that means we need our map's width to be 7.5 inches and its height to be 10 inches. Then, to center this map, we can either directly type in the position here, or we can go to the Map Frame ribbon under the Arrange group, Align to Page, and then Align Middle and Center. And the map automatically shifts toward the exact middle of the page. Next, I want to get this map a little bit more zoomed in than it is currently. To do that, I'm going to go to the Layout ribbon and hit this Activate button. Activating the map frame allows you to actually adjust the map while keeping all of the layout locked. If you don't have a map frame activated, then messing with it will only mess with the frame and not the map itself. I want to zoom this in a little bit more, so let's set our scale to 1 to 3 million. We can just type in 3 million and Arc Pro will automatically tell what we want. That's a little bit too zoomed in. You can see it's cropping off the edge of Mississippi County there. So let's zoom it back out to 3.2 million. I think that's about as good as we're going to get. I'll deactivate the map frame just by going up here to the top right and hitting this back arrow. The next thing I want to do is add some items to this layout to make it a bit more legible. The first and most important thing I want to add is a title. Like most of the elements we'll be adding, you can find this on the Insert ribbon. Here we just choose straight text to make a title that's clean. I'll drag over the area that I want, and we'll type Missouri counties by district. That's obviously far too big, so to adjust the font size down, we can either go to this ribbon or to the text symbol over in the element pane. I've decided to adjust the font size here to be 32 points. That roughly fills the space in the map. Next, I want to insert a north arrow that's up here in the Map Surrounds group. And I'll pick a nice north arrow that looks like this, say. Again, drag it over the spot I want it. Maybe a bit bigger. That looks good. While not all maps need a north arrow, generally, if there's any chance that your audience may not be familiar with the geography they're looking at, you should include one. You should also probably always include a north arrow anytime that north is not up, because that's what your audience will generally assume is true. The next thing I want to include is a scale bar. I usually like these blocky scale bars. Make sure here that we're in imperial because I want to look at miles, and not metric because I don't want to look at kilometers. I'll drag this across the bottom here, and we get a nice scale bar of 120 miles. If we want to make this show some different amount of miles, we can simply stretch it, and the scale bar automatically adjusts to show whatever mileage is real. You don't need to worry about the scale bar accidentally getting distorted because it's linked directly to the map. For all maps that have an external use, you need to include a mo.dot logo. That can be done by going up here to Graphic and then finding a mo.dot logo saved somewhere on your computer. I'll put mine right under the north arrow here. Another piece of information that is often a good idea to add is a little date and author stamp. Again, we want to just choose straight text for this. We'll go down here to the bottom right corner and write a date and name. Again, we're a little too big, so I'll adjust the font size down. If you're finding that things are still not fitting quite right, you can go in here to the text box and hit enter to create a new line. You can also, under the font symbol, change the position to align to the right. That way we can fit a slightly bigger text without needing a whole lot of space. The last major map element I want to show you for this map will be the legend. Creating a legend is a slightly more involved process, which is why I saved it for last. The legend can be inserted up here from Map Surrounds, just like the north arrow and scale bar. You simply choose a type of legend, which isn't super important as most of these are similar, and you can adjust all of these properties later anyway. Drag over where you want the legend to go, and make sure everything fits. Let's take a look at a couple of the options we have for reformatting our legend. First of all, I want to take off the title. Most people know what a legend is and what it looks like and don't need the word legend on there in bold font. I also want to show the properties of the individual legend items. Here, if we had more than one item on our legend, we could adjust them individually. Since we only have one layer, Missouri counties, on our legend, only the one shows up. I want to take off the layer name here because we know those are counties, but leave the heading which says district. That's not obvious, and it's what we want to focus on our map. I also want to check on only show features visible in the map extent to get rid of that little all other values square. I also want to increase the size of my patches and of my fonts. Here under Legend Item, we can change the size of the patches easily enough. Let's just increase these to, say, 36 by 18. That makes them slightly more visible. We can adjust the size of the headings and labels separately by clicking on this drop-down. And we'll go to Headings and change this size to 24. This adjusts the size of the label District. Then we'll go to our labels and change that size to 18. That makes the legend overall much more legible. The last thing I want to do for the legend is add a little bit of a background and outline to make it more visible. To do that, we're going to go over to this third tab, Display, and add a background. I'll choose a sort of light yellow and give it a small X and Y gap to offset it from the text. Then I'll put it on a medium gray border and give it the same offset so that it coincides with the background. Now our legend is showing up a bit more clearly. I'm going to scooch this scale bar over just a bit so that it isn't under the legend anymore. And the layout is mostly done. Real quick, let's take a look at one more thing you can add into your layout. If you have your map frame selected, on the Insert ribbon under the Map Frame group, you can click the drop-down under Grid to get a graticule onto your map. This time, let's go with the black horizontal label. This looks neat. I like the labels along the side of the map, but I don't like the lines going across it. Now that we've got our grid selected, let's go to the Element pane again. And under the Components tab, we're going to remove Ticks 1 and also grid lines. That gives us a little bit of a cleaner graticule just around the sides of the map for some context. Now I'm ready to export this layout to a PDF so that it can be printed or shared. First, let's save our map. And then to export it, we need to go to the Share ribbon, Export Layout. This will open up a new pane, the Export Layout pane. First of all, we have the choice of what file we want to export to. Let's choose PDF. Then we can choose the name and location that we want to save the PDF to. By default, it's going to save the name of your layout. So if you named your layout mo.districts, it'll save as mo.districts.pdf. If you left your layout with the default name of layout, it'll save as layout.pdf. Don't worry too much about these other options. They're sometimes important for specific purposes, but not for the general purpose of printing and sharing a map. Finally, we just hit Export. And our printable PDF map is ready. In the next video, we'll create some fake data so that we can look at how to import data into ArcPro or how to create new layers.